Thank you, Joel. All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you're well. As Joel always makes very nice introductions, so thank you, Joel. As you understand, I'm a recruiter. I've spent the last 15 years trying to find the right candidate for the right client. And I want to show you, I want to just share with you all the tips, tricks, and techniques that were used by successful candidates I've seen and how you can apply it in your search and save time, save energy and avoid frustration. I know it's part of the game, but let's uh, let's see if we can do without. So I'm gonna share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. Can everybody? Yeah, okay, excellent. So without further ado, and as Joel said, feel free if you have questions, put it in the chat. I'm gonna take a few breather during the presentation, but this presentation is going to go fast. There's going to be a lot of information, so stay on your toes. And if you don't understand something or if I went too fast, please let me know. And here we go. So we're going to review very little things because you're going to see that it's not necessarily about the amount of knowledge that you have, but it's how you actually use it. And please make sure to turn off your mic just to make sure that there's no, parasite noises or things like this. All right. So here, a few things we're going to review together are search criteria. You'll see that most of us usually we don't use them the right way. We're going to quickly fly over the resume, the LinkedIn profile, and the cover letter. Usually, you can see that a little bit more depth when you talk with your career advisor. But still, I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks from recruiters. We're going to spend quite a lot of time on where to find the opportunities, of course. And for everybody, I'm sure you're going to, for people that will survive until the end, I will have, of course, a lot of tools for you that will make your life easier, I promise. And we're going to talk, of course, it's not just about the search, it's about making sure you can go through the entire process. So it's also how to follow up once you had an interview. And if you have questions about mental health, how you can actually organize yourself in your search, of course, we're going to talk about it as well, but feel free to share your questions in the chat. And no question is stupid. All questions are welcome because what you think, if you need to know something, somebody else here today probably need to know that as well. All right. So you need a job. Okay, so we need to find something here. And the first reflex that most people have is, okay, I'm going to search for a job title and I'm going to search it in a defined region or city. That's as good as any other way to do it. However, how are you sure that you actually know all the titles, the right job titles to find the right opportunity for yourself? And the answer is it's impossible. Even me as a recruiter, after 15 years, I still discover new ways that employers calls their employees. And so here, there's many, many different ways that we're going to look into. But what I would like you to consider is when you look for a job, you're not actually looking for a title. You're looking for missions, for tasks to do in order to get paid. You're looking for qualifications, and those two, tasks and qualifications, should be your go-to when you're not really sure of the title. You should search tasks or qualifications. This way, you're going to have access to much more job descriptions, and you might actually consider a different path in your job search. An example, like there's a lot of different examples, but what you can actually consider is if you're looking for an accountant job, it's usually, it's a no-brainer. Accountant is pretty much the same name everywhere. But if you're looking for a customer service position, depending if it's on the phone, in a hotel, or in a cinema, it's going to be called differently. But in the description, you'll always see customer service. So now that we have this out of the way, let's look at other criteria that you can actually use. So we have, and I'm going to just put them right there. Voila. Other type of things that you might want to consider when you actually search for a job. It's the type of company. Depending on the size of the company, depending on the nature of the company, you can look for different things. Let me explain. If you are like me, you're looking for a company where you can actually have a career. You can expand, you can grow. But not all companies can offer that. So if, like me, you want to specialize in something, if you want to be really good at something really precise, my go-to is international recruitment, international hires. And not a lot of companies actually need a skill like this. So I'm going to go actually, the more you specialize yourself, and usually the more you're going to go for a bigger company or a niche company, like a company that is not necessarily big, but is only working in a very specific, tiny domain. On the opposite side, if you're a generalist, like you're okay, you don't want to specialize yourself yet, then you open yourself to a lot more companies, small companies, medium-sized companies, a little bit less the big companies because they really want specialists. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And after that, you're going to have what we call the universal positions, administrative. If you work in administrative management, like administrative assistant, or if you are in customer service, we're going to see that in a lot of different industries. So there, yeah, you have a little bit of leg room. Okay, the job position. This is also something very interesting. Everybody wants to have a full-time job, no brainer. We want the sweet stuff. But if you don't have the necessary experience, if you're lacking a little bit of experience, if you're a student, you're looking for your first job, if you're a newcomer, how can you get this when you know there's going to be competition? You can try. I will always say it's better to try and fail than to actually avoid completely being afraid of failing. In Canada, that's something that you really need to understand. It's if you try and fail, you've learned something. Then you can actually use it for the next opportunity. And here, why am I saying this? Is because on the work market, it's not just about full-time jobs. You have part-time jobs, you have also contract jobs. And those are very interesting for a very simple reason. As a recruiter, my task is to find people for a specific organization. But what maybe you don't know is every single time in Canada, an employer hires someone, on average, it costs $30,000. That's a lot of money. That's an investment. And so every single employer, when they are looking for someone, they want two things. They want to minimize risks and they want to maximize their potential profit. It's called hard cash issue here. We're just going to be I'm going to be very honest with you. It might seem not fair, but I want to depict you an accurate situation so you can understand how you can after that put yourself out there and talk about your added value. So why am I talking about this? It's very simple. The employer wants someone, but he wants to avoid to hire someone that could be a risk for him. He doesn't want or she doesn't want to lose money. If the employer is looking for someone for a full-time job, he's going to try to find the person that makes him feel the most secured. So most of the time, they're going to try to find Canadian person and probably somebody that is bilingual ideally, otherwise somebody that they recognize their schools, their university, because they've been in the same places. This is what we call mimicking, and it's not necessarily the best way to go about it, but a lot of employers still do it. Where there's an opportunity here for you, well, if you go for a part-time or a contract job, employers are not as I would say they don't pay as much attention to the risk because they know it's going to be it's just for a certain amount of time, okay? You're not going to stay with the company your whole life. If it's a 6 or 12 months contract, well, normally, theoretically, at the end of the contract, that's done. So here, it's interesting because you have more chances to be considered for this first job. And as an old newcomer, because I arrived in Canada 15 years ago, I've always applied this strategy even to myself. Is I want a job, I want a better job. Okay, let's see if there's a contract where I can actually, grind my teeth, prove my worth, and after 12 months, if I stay, it means that the employer likes me, and it always worked this way. So if you're comfortable with that, do it. Okay, other things. Location. Location is interesting because you can look, of course, in New Brunswick, but you can also look for remote jobs. There are still a lot of remote jobs available, especially if you look at British Columbia. So don't necessarily restrain yourself to New Brunswick. You can live here and work in New Brunswick, no problem. And you can even ideally find a remote job. So this way, you're going to earn a nice pay from British Columbia, enjoying it in New Brunswick. That could be nice. So don't restrain yourself geographically. After that, a few things that you can find more and more: the values of the employers, the employee benefits, the compensation. Those are nice, but not necessarily the defining criteria for your search. Compensation is interesting because more and more employers are putting this, but you still need to check it out. You still need to verify it. I will provide you with a few websites where you can also make sure that the compensation offered on the job description is actually accurate and fair compared to the market. Specific qualifications. This is something that is very interesting. If you are, for example, in IT, well, the good thing is usually you have a certain set of skills and it's easier for you to look for a job because those qualifications are very, very specific. So you can just search with those and it's going to be, quite simple after that to engage the conversation, except for certain things that are being automated with AI, I know, but we'll see, there's always a way around. Um, advancements. So this is something also I'm going to show you. There's certain websites where you can actually have the reviews from current or past employees, and this will help you understand how the company works, if they're actually promoting people internally, if they're paying their overtime, if the managers are leaders or just bosses. You can actually get a feeling of that using a few websites. This will help you to guide you actually when you apply, because something I really, really want, I strongly suggest to you is avoid applying all day long. Avoid applying 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you're just going to burn out. You're going to be a shooting star. You're going to last a week. And after that, you're going to lose your motivation, lose your focus. Your applications are not going to be, as good as they should be. So there's a technique for that. We'll talk about it, but it's important that you target systematically. It's better to do a, just a little bit. Quality is always better than quantity when you look for a job. And last point here, the community. In Canada, it's all about different communities. If you are from Africa, you are from a certain culture, certain country, okay, use it. If you're from China, from India, use the community, the power of the network. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more after. It's really something powerful for you guys, especially because yes, we'll see that most jobs we're going to find them on Indeed, Google, LinkedIn, but each community also have their own network to offer jobs. So that's something to leverage. All right, enhance the resume. The resume is something, and I will be very honest with you guys. I screen between 100 and 700 resumes per week. It's a tiring job for a few reasons, and let me explain you something here. And I'm not saying that out of frustration, but I want you guys to save time. Most people, when they actually search for a job, they are going to be like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to make my resume. And after that, I'm going to search for a job. Don't do that. Do the opposite. So first, identify opportunities that you like. Identify things, jobs that you actually want. Look at the job titles. Look at the keywords, the way the sentences are built, the way they sell the job to you. Once you find, let's say, 2, 3, 4 jobs, job descriptions that you like, then you can start building your resume saying, okay, what do I have? Do I have what they're asking? Yes, okay. I should use the same keywords. I should use the same phrasing. I should actually mimic what I see on the job description. And the reason why I'm telling you that is because maybe I think my personal experience tells me that 80% of the resumes I get, the keywords are wrong. Even people apply, they don't even know why they apply. They just want to apply and hopefully they're going to get a job. And this is something I understand. Out of desperation, sometimes it's just like, okay, I'll send my resume and we'll see if somebody says I like it. Don't do that. Don't do that because as a recruiter, your resume has a lifespan of 5 seconds. I open it, I look for my keywords, I don't see them. I'm not gonna bother more than this because I know that in my list, statistically, 20% of the candidates will make the effort to actually adapt the resume and they will speak to me the way I expect them to. So I'm not bothering with the rest. And so do all the other recruiters. What you need to understand here is if you take the time to adapt your resume, it's much easier for the recruiter. The recruiter is a human being. And you have to understand that if I have 100 resumes to check by the end of the week, you can calculate that. You'll see. Time is not something that expands our contracts. It's time is time. So we have to go fast. We have to find the right people. And for that, if you have a resume and you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna put geometric forms, colors, I'm gonna do something different from all the others. Well, that's a mistake. It's a mistake because the human brain and the recruiter by extension, that as a human, we tend to look for something that is systematic and standard because it's easier for us to read it and understand it. If you have a 7-page resume, we're not going to go through 7 pages. We're not going to take the time to understand you. What we want is to understand if you have the skills and expertise for the job. I have resumes with 30 pages in it, and there's everything in it. And I mean, really everything. Like they put even their high school diplomas and stuff like that. Don't do that. Okay? Keep it short, keep it sweet. And I'm going to move to the next point, but it's important for you guys to understand a resume is like a business card. It's 1-2 page max, and you just talk about what you bring to the table for the job, specifically for the job and nothing else. Because all the rest does not matter at this point of the process. Okay, don't worry, you'll see that on the long run, it's going to make things easier for you because if you have less things to put in your resume, you can focus more on the quality of the content. And of course, in this resume, please make sure review the resume, proofread it, and we'll see that we should also analyze it. I'll talk about it later. Okay, on LinkedIn, you're pretty much going to do exactly the same on the resume. You're going to trim the fat. But the difference is on LinkedIn, you can put all your experiences. That's fine. But make sure to use the right keywords, the right types of sentences, so it appeals to recruiter. As a recruiter, when I search someone on LinkedIn, for example, I'm going to look for my keywords, the one that are in the job description. So if you don't have those keywords, it's going to be harder for me to find you. It's also important to use the right titles, to adapt your titles. If you were living, for example, in Algeria before, and you had a certain type of title for accounting, you were not called, I don't know, you were a financial specialist, for example, but not accountant. And financial specialist, that does not mean the same thing here. Maybe you should adapt your title. So when I look for an accountant, I can actually find you and avoid this confusion. Remember that no matter what happened, what was true for you in your home country is not necessarily applicable here in Canada, because the recruiter will not be from your country. He will be, or she will be, a Canadian with not much international experience. So be careful with this. In LinkedIn, you update your profile, you make sure it's up to date, it's nice and shiny, you refresh your network, and you go into groups. We'll see why it's important afterwards. And also, if possible, it's not mandatory, be active. Look at what people post, like it, comment, share an article that is, within your domain. By being visible, you simply increase the chances for people to see you and to consider you for an opportunity. If you have questions about that, we'll look into it a little bit after as well if you want. The cover letter. Between us, the cover letter is disappearing. It's a dinosaur. It's not something that's gonna last. Okay, so if you apply in very specific domains such as education, science, bank to an extent, cover letter is usually strongly recommended. For all the other domains, you don't really need the cover letter. And the reason why is because recruiters usually don't even bother reading it. What they want is it's your resume. That's what matters. Resume first, cover letter maybe, LinkedIn profile for sure. So a few things you need here to understand about the cover letter if you want to make one. You have to customize it like the resume. You have to customize it for each and every position you apply for. You have to highlight your strengths, your skills, and explain why you are qualified for this particular role. Your letter must be simple to understand, clear, short, concise. We're in Canada. In Canada, people don't have time. They want short and sweet information. One phrase, one idea. Something very simple. French people, Indian people, Japanese people, we have something in common despite big cultural differences. We like to talk. We like multiple subjects in one sentence. We like to hyper contextualize, over justify. Don't do that in Canada. Don't. If we want more information, we'll ask you. So every time you interact with someone or you communicate or you just write the content, make it short, make it sweet. Okay, it's like a tweet. Remember Twitter before 240 characters? It's kind of the same mindset here. I'm not saying the Canadians are not able to understand more. It's just that they're culturally used to communicating in just much shorter way. That's it. Make sure to quantify your achievements. Yes, that's something you should do also in your resumes. In your resume, that's very important. I see still a lot of people that say, "Hey, I'm going to put a lot of keywords in my resume and my cover letter." Yeah, well, if you put 40 keywords, but you don't, explain and tangle them into your experience, they mean nothing. Unless you work in IT and you know there's a certain amount of skills that you need for the job, yeah, you can put those. It's usually not much more than 6 or 8, but don't put 40. It's meaningless for you. It takes space and you're losing time. And a lot of people are going to say, yeah, I'm very motivated. I can do all kinds of jobs. I learn fast. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Don't. This has no value. As a recruiter, how can I actually measure your ability to perform if you just say that? I have to take you for your word, and everybody says that. So it has no value. What has value is if you actually transform that and you apply it into your experience and you quantify it. So you put a number on it and you say, well, uh, on my last job, I managed 3 people on a $100,000 project, and we delivered the project on time with this and this and this. Okay, I sold for $1 million, which means that I actually systematically went above my objective by 160% on the last 3 months. I have a 98% satisfaction on my client service test every time. blah, 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 whatever. Find the number. I saved money to the company. I made a process faster, whatever. Find the numbers, add them into your resume, and find a nice example and put it in the cover letter. If you struggle with that, let me know. We can brainstorm a little bit. That can also inspire other people here in this workshop. All right. It's important also remember, and this applies across the board in all your documents and everything you might communicate to an employer. Talk only, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it's very important. I really want you guys to understand that. Only talk about things that are related to the job that you want. That's it. Anything else, any other skill, experience, if you cannot make it transferable and apply to the job itself, forget about it. Don't talk about it. It's useless for this specific opportunity. Maybe you'll use it after. And avoid the overuse of I, me, my, yeah, my success. I did that. I did. You can use it a little bit, no problem. But remember that in every organization where you worked, you depended on your coworkers, on your manager. So showcase the fact that you also are able to work in a team, recognize when it's a team success as well, how you contributed to the team success. This is good for you. This is something nice. So please do it. Okay. Unless you're a one man or one woman orchestra and you did everything by yourself, then in that case, congratulations. That's fantastic. But otherwise, please make sure to take the time to recognize the organization also in which you were able to succeed. All right, I'm taking a little breather here. I'm just gonna hydrate myself, but do we have any questions? Anything? You can raise the hand, you can react, you can do what you want. So far, from what we saw, everything fine? Yeah, okay. No reaction, good reaction. Okay, so let's start with the bad news here. As you may know, 70, roughly, that's our guess, educated guess. We always say that between 70 and 90% of jobs never appear online. You will never see them. It's the hidden market. And what do we mean by that? Well, it's simple. When you work, when you're looking for a job, that's fine. But the employers, what they do is when they are looking for someone, they're going to look if they can promote someone internally. They're going to try to find somebody that can recommend someone. They're going to look in their network. And so all of this, even before the job appears online. So those are the jobs you don't necessarily hear about, but you could potentially tap in. You could potentially be privy to those. So we're going to see different ways where you can actually, of course, access the 30% that are visible, but also get a little bit more visibility and a decent chance to find opportunities that are not visible on the market yet. And I think I saw a comment. I just want to make sure. Is that a question? No? Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to see quite a few things, but just to let you know, guys, networking, of course, we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a whole slide for that, so we'll see it right after. Job offers, bulletin boards as well, company websites as well. So now let's see something that is interesting. Recommendations, referrals, should I say. In Canada, like in pretty much all across North America, what we see is companies, when they hire someone, it costs money. So how do you do to find people faster and cheaper? You motivate your employees to refer people. And so I'm in a company, I see someone, a potential candidate I like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to refer this person to the recruiter. And if the person is hired, I'm going to get some money for that. So it could be $500, but I've seen that going up to $5,000. So here, that's a good thing. It means that if you're able to connect with the right person in the organization, they could refer you. They're going to be financially motivated to take your resume and put it right in front of the recruiter. That's something that we'll talk a little bit after that, but in a lot of cases also, it's important to understand that the recruiter might not even see your resume when you apply. And there's a reason for that in the process. We'll see that after. So recommendation is a great way to bypass the first steps of pre-selection and disqualification, because you will, no matter what, end up in front of the recruiter. Temp agency work. I told you a little bit before, one good thing, if you're not able to find a full-time job, you can try the contracts. But how do you find them? Well, you can filter through, Indeed, Google Work, Google Job, LinkedIn, but you can also just go in Google and say, okay, temp agency, and you can find, I don't know, Adecco, Mindpower, Randstad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those agencies, they're going to be good for you because they're going to work for you. If you find on their website an opportunity for you, you're going to add your resume into their database. And then whenever they have a job where they think, yeah, that could be the right person, they will call you and say, hey, we have a job for you. It's with this employer. Are you interested? So it's a good way to accumulate experience quickly and to make sure that, just making sure the time as well. Yeah, we're on time. And this could actually be another way for you in parallel to look for a job. It's a passive way for you, which is nice. We're going to also have the job fairs. Okay, we mentioned it, of course, in the title here, in the explanations, the job fairs. I know this, if you went to a job fair here in Canada, maybe, or most likely, you were frustrated at the end. And I can understand that. So I would suggest two strategies when you go to a job fair to increase drastically your chances. The first one, it's the ideal scenario. You find let's say a job fair. Okay, everything is fine. You find a company you like, and they're advertising for the job fair a job that you want. That's great. In that case, you take your nice little resume optimized for this very specific job, and you go to the job fair and you talk to the recruiter. There's different ways to approach it. We can talk about it if you want. But this first scenario is the hardest to find because, as you know, we don't necessarily know which company is going to be at the job fair, what type of jobs they're offering specifically during the job fair. Because what you need to understand is I've done a lot of job fairs as a recruiter. And what happened is, it's let's say I used to work for Air Canada and we had 500 jobs, 500 postings live all the time. As a recruiter, I don't own 500 jobs. I own 20, 30 max, which means that when I go to the job fair, I'm going to look for those 20, 30 type of candidates, nothing more, because I don't know which other recruiter manages the other type of job or if we have them posted at all. And so if you're the right candidate for me, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to keep your resume nice and warm and I'm going to contact you the next day for sure. But now let's say it's the second scenario, the second strategy here. You go to the job fair. You don't know which company it's going to be, what type of job are going to be advertised. And you arrive there. Maybe there's a few companies you like, but no jobs for you. A lot of people, out of frustration, or maybe they're motivated, they're like, no, I'm going to talk to the recruiters and I'm going to give my resume. You can, but your resume will most likely end up in the garbage. Not because we don't care about you, but because we don't have nor the time or the energy to find the right person or to go check for you. Because something that is important to understand, again, is recruiters are paid to find candidates. They're not paid to find jobs to candidates. They're paid to find the right candidate for the employer. So that's very important to understand. So here, my advice for you is just talk to the recruiters to gather information. And we'll see also this in the networking section. Let's say you arrive at the job fair and say, hey, My name is Daniel. I'm looking for an accountant job. Nice to meet you. Here's my resume. And me, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you. I recruit for this company. However, I don't know if we're recruiting for accounting, sadly, and I'm not. And I'm not in charge of that. Usually, most people are going to be like, okay, can you take my resume? Thank you. Goodbye. But what I would like you to do is actually you stand your ground and say, well, nice to meet you, Thomas. Thank you for letting me know. Is there any information you could provide me to facilitate the search? Because I really like your company. Like, for example, uh, do you know the name of your colleague that is in charge of this type of position? Or maybe do you know the name of the manager of this particular department? And you would be surprised how easy it's going to be for you to actually get this information. Because recruiters they're not here to shatter your dreams. They want you to succeed because if you can be hired in the company, that's easier for them. That makes their job easier. But they are more willing to provide you with information if they're not able to actually hire you. So by doing so, you gather information, you gain knowledge that is not privy to most of candidates. And so it's easier after that for you to connect with people online. For example, they give you the name of their colleague that is recruiting. You can find the name on LinkedIn, you can connect, send a message and say, hey, I've met your colleague Thomas during this job fair. It was really nice to meet him. And he strongly recommended me to connect with you because he told me you had a few opportunities where I could be a fit potentially. And this is a great start for a conversation with a recruiter online because thanks to the failed attempt at the job fair, you're able to potentially increase your visibility for a job in this particular company. So some of you are going to be like, yeah, that's nice, but come on, Thomas, it's not as easy as this. Yeah, you're right. It takes a few tries and errors, but if you don't try, you don't succeed. So the more you're going to do that, the more you're going to develop also your network. And please make sure also, once you're done with this conversation with the recruiter, add them on LinkedIn. I'm going to see if you don't know, I'm going to show you something here. Please do it. You take your phone, you have your, let's see where it is here. Okay. You download your LinkedIn. You make a very nice, really, you update your LinkedIn profile, and we're going to go into LinkedIn. All right, see, I'm on my LinkedIn, easy peasy, and there's a search bar on the top. So you're going to click on it. Voila. And what you're going to see here, there's going to be a few squares right there. So you're going to click on those squares, and you're going to have, and I'm just clicking on it, voila. You're going to have two options, scan or display QR code. And this way, when you see a recruiter, instead of being like, oh, take my resume, or I'm going to take your name, nobody has time. So what you do is you prepare that and you say, okay, just take your phone, open the camera, scan my code, bam, you have me. You have my profile. We can add each other on LinkedIn and you develop your network much faster this way because ironically, not a lot of people use this. Has been around, like I've been using it for years. And you would be surprised. People love it. People, they find it amusing and they remember you. Oh, you're the person, yeah, with the QR code for LinkedIn. Oh, yeah, I remember you. That was nice. And you can create the conversation here because it's all about creating an impression and acquiring knowledge. Voilà, that was a little bit of a sidetrack, but just to make you understand that job fairs here, it's a big opportunity. Even if you think you failed because you didn't get the job during the job fair, convert that into an opportunity to acquire information. All right. Oh, if you were not sure to understand how I did that, you can also find this. You go on YouTube and how to get the LinkedIn QR code to share it. You have a complete video. This way, you can save it, and if you forget, you can always go back to it. Voilà. All right, let's continue here with our little journey into the infinite potential of job uh, of of uh, of jobs in Canada. Okay, we have the job fair, social medias. As you can understand, that was the perfect transition. Didn't realize that LinkedIn, Facebook. X, whatever. There's a lot of them, a lot. What you need to understand is the main one, the kings of kings right now is LinkedIn. It has been for a long time, and it's a fantastic tool if you know how to use it. And I'm just going to go quickly about it, but you don't have to spend your time on LinkedIn. Five, allez, 15 minutes a day with a precise goal in mind will make wonders. I know that's what I do both for my job as a recruiter, but also as an independent trainer. If I need to look for new clients, I'm going to spend 5 minutes a day. Okay, what type of client do I want to meet? Do I understand their needs? Okay, how do I address that? And then I select and I send. When you look for a job, same thing. You can divide your week and say, okay, every morning, 20 minutes at first, because you need to get used to it. 20 minutes, half an hour there, and you'll see over time you're going to be quicker and quicker. But let's say, okay, you're going to spend half an hour the first time. You're going to say, okay, what do I want? I want to look for a job. Okay, what type of job? Okay, I need to find the missions, the task. Okay, let's see. I need to find, let's say, 3 jobs today, just this morning in 30 minutes. You find those 3 jobs. Perfect. What do you do after that? You identify the keywords. You look to implement them in your resume, and you decide to apply to at least one job today, another one tomorrow, etc., etc. This way, if you know that every morning for 20 minutes you're going to do this LinkedIn thing, and then you're going to maybe apply on another platform, or you decide to no, you're going to do some volunteer work, or you're going to go in person to another, an office or something. What you do is every day you do a little bit of the task you need to do every day. And this makes you much more efficient than most people. Because most people will think, okay, no, I'm going to spend 8 hours on LinkedIn today and I need to find a job. Don't do that. You're going to burn yourself. Just be consistent, but always with little on little blocks here. And social media, though, depending the type of job you're looking for, some are better than others, but in 90% of the time, LinkedIn is your go-to. If you are a plumber, or if you do like a heavy traditional manual jobs, LinkedIn won't be the place for you. But for all the other people, yeah, that works wonders. And finally, headhunters and recruiters. There's a distinction here. I am a recruiter. I hire specifically for one company. So my job is to find and do a triage. I eliminate anything that represents risk for me, and I keep people that I think provide high value for my client, for my internal client. On the other hand, headhunters are different. Headhunters, they have a mandate. They have 1, 2, 3, 5 clients, and they're like, okay, I need to find people that will be attractive for my client. So they are gonna find people, they're gonna prep them up and send them for the interview. Here, what's interesting is with the headhunters, sometimes they go too fast. So it's important for you to just to ask them all the right information before they actually send you to the interview. I've seen cases where I had candidates, they were not even aware of the name of the company and the type of job. They knew roughly, but they had no details. So they were not able to properly prepare themselves. Please take the time. You have a headhunter contacting you? Great. It means that your profile is attractive, but just ask them before you actually schedule the interview. Give me the name of the company. Give me the details of the job. Give me everything you have so I can actually make sure that I have all the chances I can get on my side. And so I have a few questions here. Interesting. And thank you, Egil. I think you shared a YouTube video for the visibility online. Thank you. We have Rosanna who says, I always think it's too invasive to send messages to people on LinkedIn. When is it okay and when it is not? You know what? Good question. We're actually going to check that right now. All right. So let's go in details with regards to networking. Why should we do that? Is it really necessary? As a French person from France, networking was something I have to say I really struggled with it because it's not something that I'm not used to it. So what's interesting with networking in Canada, it's not about making friends. It's about creating a professional connection with someone with who you can share an interest. Most people here, especially newcomers, and that's perfectly normal, guys. Like I've been in your shoes, I know. Um, Most people, they're gonna go on LinkedIn and they're gonna say, "Oh, yeah, I'm gonna contact a recruiter. I'm gonna throw my resume in his face, and hopefully he's gonna hire me." I cannot tell you how many people still do that, but it's not something you should do. And I want you to try to picture yourself as the recruiter. But before that, let me give you a completely outside of the box example. Imagine you're walking in the street, minding your own thing. You have an appointment, you're going to meet friends in a restaurant in about 5 minutes. And somebody arrives right in your face and say, "Hey, do you have some money, please?" Most people might not give something. Some people will. That's fine. What if you're walking in the street, same scenario, except the person that stops you is like, "Excuse me, I had to stop you, but I really like your shoes. They're so gorgeous. Wow. Like, can you tell me exactly where did you buy them? Are they like, can I buy them? Then they look really, really nice." And you might actually spend more time talking about your shoes with this person than actually giving money to someone that just asked you that. So what you need to understand here is, and that's the core way of networking, it's a two-way exchange, always. First, you need to find someone that with who you potentially share an interest, learn from them, why and how they've been in this domain, what they like about it, what is challenging, how the company is growing. You can ask a lot of different questions. If you don't know which questions to ask, you can go on LinkedIn, on Google, examples questions to network. You can go on ChatGPT. You can do really a lot of things about that. So here, first thing to understand, you have to explore your options. You have to understand that it's better to look for one type of job at a time than three, because you're going to burn yourself no matter what. So, first thing here, find the type of job you like. We're going back to the same strategy I was talking about earlier. Then, once you know what type of job you like, you can go on LinkedIn, you can find the relevant groups, relevant type of people that, are attractive for you, and you're going to try to contribute. So if you go in a group, present yourself. "Hey, I'm Thomas. I'm also a recruiter. Nice to meet you guys. I can't wait to exchange with you and learn about your different experiences." This way, you're not saying, "Hey, I'm desperate. I'm looking for a job. Like, give me something, please." Don't never do that. Never say you're looking for a job. Say that if people ask you, you can say, "Hey, I'm looking for a new challenge." But it's very important that your phrasing is positive and constructive. It cannot be, you cannot display anything, any negative sensation for the person that is listening to you. So it's a two-way street here, but the method is important. You can go in a group, or you can identify on LinkedIn people that are in the domain that interest you. It's not necessarily recruiters. It could be people that are, for example, in your domain, like managers, directors, or people at the same level as you, people that you would like to have their jobs. Because you don't need necessarily to ask them for a job. You need to ask them for information and hopefully also a referral. That's always nice. If you want to be active on LinkedIn, there's several ways. You could contact people. You could directly contact them. There's no problem. There's no wrong time to contact people. What matters is how you contact them, what you say to them. Or you can post content, you can be active in groups, so different ways to go about it. But always create the interaction, identify people that like to talk. That's also something very interesting. If you're in a group, there's usually four types of people. You have everybody. Most people actually, they don't speak, they don't do anything. They're just in the group because they think, "Yeah, I should be in the group. That seems fine." You're going to have the recruiters, you're going to have the headhunters, and you're going to have what we call the specialists. It's people in your domain that have a lot of experience, a wealth of experience. They do pretty much the same type of job as you, or maybe a little bit higher, and they like to network. And those people are going to be great for you because if you connect with them, they're going to be able to tell you which company is nice, which company is hiring, which company is firing, which company is restructuring, etc., etc., etc. So you have access through them potentially to the hidden market because you can say, hey, you know, you learn from them, and then they're going to be like, hey, but by the way, like, how's everything for you? Oh, well, I'm looking for a new challenge. Oh, really? What type? Like, is there something specific you like to do? Yeah, actually, that's something also. Never say, oh, I'm open for everything. No. Be specific. You can say, well, I'm looking for this, or I'm looking for that, actually. Both, I like them. And then he's going to be, he might tell you, well, Jerry and Mohammed, the two people that you should connect with because I know that they've been hiring in the past a lot and maybe they're still hiring now. And you're gonna contact them, and you're gonna be, hey, I was referred by this person that we both know. I've been told that you're always on the lookout for new talents, and I was wondering if it was still, the thing now. Oh yeah, we're hiring. Oh no, I'm not hiring, but I've heard that my friend Stephanie that works in this company, she's currently hiring. So, point by point, you're gonna find the right opportunity. I know this seems tiring. This seems like a lot of energy, but what you need to understand is when you start your journey in Canada, yes, usually applying with a resume is a little bit more cost efficient. But after that, once you have your first job, networking over time has a kind of a compound effect. The more you network, and you don't have to spend your life doing it. A message here, a message there, that's it. It will increase your visibility. I actually didn't need to apply for a job for during 9 years because I was able to find my jobs through the network. So you always have to make a resume, but I was not. It was not for me. I didn't see an application, actually, a website where I had to apply for 9 years. So it's a good thing. Over time, time for you, it's going to be 6 months max. If you really are consistent with it, you're going to have a great network and you're going to be able to find things. But anyway, I'm talking a little bit too much about it, so I'm just going to take a breather here. Do we have any questions regarding this? If not, I will continue. There's still a lot more to learn. I know we're going to be a little bit short on time, but if you have questions, let's make it interactive. And I promise you're going to learn even more after that. Good. Okay. We'll continue. Uh, oh, yeah. No, I stumbled. I forgot one. Okay. It's the job bulletins and company websites. So no slides for this one, but quickly. When you go on LinkedIn, when you go on Google Job, Indeed, whatever, those are what we call aggregators. So they take all the information they can online and they put it on one platform on their website. It's very interesting because it gives you a good visibility on what's available on the market. And thanks to all the filters you can use, you can really target interesting jobs. Only, of course, if you use the right words to find those jobs. So remember tasks, qualifications. For the company websites, the only difference here is instead of having jobs from all the companies, it's just one company. But what's nice about it is you can actually set up the notifications. If you really like one company in particular, you can set the notifications right from their website. And why is it different from, let's say, putting the notifications on LinkedIn? Well, sometimes there's compatibility issues, even to this day, between some company websites and LinkedIn. So the job post, they take more time than expected in order to be available. So for you, it's a little bit quicker. Sometimes you're gonna gain maybe half a second, and sometimes it's several hours. So you could really be ahead of the curve. When you're on LinkedIn, you see a job that was posted like an hour ago, and there's already 20, 50 applicants. That's because there's a delay between when it's actually visible on LinkedIn and when it was visible on the company website. Anyway, continuing here, the websites. I made a few selections. I'll have to change that. I will put those, everything you can see here, I'm going to add it in the chat. So no worry, guys, you don't need to copy paste everything there. Job bank, you already probably know that, but do you know that job banks help you to create your resume, helps you to get information about the market, like for example, um, what type of competencies of skills you need for a certain type of jobs, the perspective. So are we hiring for this kind of job right now in New Brunswick? And also the average salary for this job. There's also another thing that is interesting on Job Bank is the fact that you have access to specific programs such as DEY programs, uh, priority women access for jobs, all of those. Never be ashamed to use those. Actually, they're made for you guys. You have to use them because employers sometimes are specifically looking for newcomers, people from specific communities, etc., etc., etc. So there's less jobs available on Job Bank, but usually they're a little bit safer, and you know it's better quality overall. But when I say safer, also, that's something that is important. You might have seen incredible offers being like, hey, earn $2,000 every day if you work only 3 hours per day. This is fake. This is a trap. Be careful, okay? If it's too good to be true, usually it's just to get your information, especially your bank information. And they want your money. They don't want your skills or expertise. So be careful with this. If you have a doubt, reach out to your career advisor, look on Google, do your due diligence. Then other type of tools here of websites that are interesting. Canada Job Training Initiative. So this is a platform where you have a lot of very strong selection of trainings. You think you're lacking maybe expertise in Excel? You can check there. If you are not comfortable using YouTube, I mean, YouTube is free. That's always good. But if you prefer like something with a certification or that is recognized from a university standpoint, go there. It's really nice. Plus, they usually tell you when there's a discount, like a promotion, and you can pay just 10% of the price for a course. So it's always good to pay $40 instead of 400. Glassdoor, wonderful. I love Glassdoor because it gives you information, intel about companies, the review from the employees, and the average compensation for jobs and companies. So great information for you guys. Do never be afraid to use it. LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster. Well, I think you're familiar with that. Huh? All great places to find jobs. But Indeed is interesting also because you have an application. We'll see it right after also in the tools to help you understand if your resume is actually good or not for the when you apply to be selected by the recruiters to increase your chances. And Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is interesting because it's a place, maybe you've used it, maybe not. There's probably equivalent as well in New Brunswick. If you're looking to go in a job fair, if you're looking to go out and try to actually create your network, this could be a good place to start. There's a lot of events, it's free, and you can network there. Some events, you have to pay for it, so just be careful, and sometimes it's quite expensive. All right, then continuing here on the tools, different tools. If you if you see a job offer that is in French but not necessarily in English, and you're like, oh, I would like still to understand whether or not French is mandatory or if actually I could be interested, you can use Depot. Great, great, much better than Google Translate. I was talking about, so that's something that is a little bit special. Maybe you're not aware of that. When you apply to a job, your application goes into a software, which is an ATS, an application tracking system. And what recruiters do is basically they're going to use several tips and several tricks to trim as many candidates as possible. So the first one is they're going to make you answer questions. Hey, are you comfortable in English? Are you legally able to work for any employer in Canada? And you'll see that depending on your answers, well, you might be disqualified automatically. You will never know that because you will receive the email maybe 2 or 3 days afterwards. That's normal. So here, what is interesting also is if you succeed to those questions, then there's a step that you don't know, you have no control over, and it's the algorithm. There's usually an algorithm, an AI, that will read your resume. and look if there's the right keywords, the right structure in the resume, if actually they can read it. And then they're going to say, okay, this person seems okay, so I'm going to give it an 80% compatibility with the job. And this is where I was telling you it's very important to actually understand and make the right format of resume. If you want to be original, don't. If you want to put color, don't. Follow the nice, boring Canadian format, because this will make sure that the algorithm actually understands completely your resume and gives you the highest grade possible. Because after that, the recruiters, they open their tracking software and like, okay, I'm gonna see who's the most compatible. And even if you were the first person to apply, it doesn't matter, because we're gonna look for the person that seems to be the most compatible with the job. So for this, JobScan, pretty nice. Why? Because it's a website where you can say, okay, here's my resume. Here's the job that I like. Now tell me whether or not, what's my score? And if they say, well, that's 82, that's really nice, but maybe you can tweak a few things. Good. But maybe they're going to tell you, oh my God, it's catastrophic. You have like a 22% compatibility. This is why. This is what you need to improve right now. This is the one that is optional, et cetera, et cetera. This way you understand if actually your resume has the right content on it. Okay, so JobScan is down here. Indeed can do exactly the same thing. And so going back here, I've also, because I know we all need it, and that's probably a question you might have, here is a guide on how to make a resume. It's very simple. Like there's a lot of information, but you'll see it's quite simple. We give you all the necessary vocabulary and we show you templates, efficient templates for the resume, but also, I'm going to go there, for the motivation letter. So hopefully with this, you just go through the different steps and voila, after maybe 1 or 2 hours of hard work, you'll have a really nice resume that you can have to just tweak a little bit every time you apply. Because this is truly the format. It's not pretty, I know, but not too much information, just enough for me to read. And you'll see that depending on the resume, there's 2 types, but this is for another workshop. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but it's important to understand that you can adapt. Your resume is not something that is set in stone. The format here is important to comply with, but after that, the information here, it's always about education, experience, and a few additional information you think, like for example, always make sure you have a summary, always make sure that you put the minimum contact information possible. And once you have those, you're good to go, because this is actually what matters. Okay, if you want to learn a little bit more, Udemy is a Francophone university. If you want to, if you're a Francophone, I think I heard a few, you can use that. It's a very good university, especially online. University of the People, American University, but what's nice about it is if you're not earning a lot of money right now, courses might be free. Even the diploma might not cost you as much as you think, because it's made for people to make it affordable, and it's recognized also. So it's nice. And the last thing, when you're going to search for a job, sometimes, let's say you look for an administrative assistant position, and there's a lot of jobs that implies that you have to do also some accounting, and you don't like accounting. Well, Boolean search is a way to actually communicate with the search engine and say, hey, I want to look for administrative roles, but exclude all the jobs that will include the word accounting, and it will do it. It takes 2 minutes to learn it. It's very easy. And after that, you can use it all the time. I mean, it's great for everything. But anyway, I think we are, yes, Joel, I'm 7 minutes late, but we still have plenty of time to talk about everything you just saw. I know there's a lot of information, but please bear in mind, if you're not understanding something, if you are not sure how to apply it concretely, please let me know. It's going to be my pleasure as a recruiter to tell you how you can go about it.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Thomas.
Whew.
I'll stop the recording for now, and so we can move into the Q&A session. And feel free to put your question either in the chat or raise your hand. And so